Turning Point USA and closeted gay males. Tyler Boyer, Mikey McCoy, a lot of the Turning Point male staff, they're gay.
That's what Turning Point USA was about, and that's what I wanted to continue.
A former Turning Point USA employee just dropped a video that is sending shockwaves through every corner of this story, and the details coming out are darker and more disturbing than most people were prepared for. Matthew Sharoni did not just leak footage of a wild after-party connected to a Turning Point event. He came forward with allegations about what has apparently been happening inside this organization when the cameras go off, the public leaves, and the carefully maintained conservative image gets set aside entirely. And as if that was not enough on its own, Matt also alleged that multiple men inside Turning Point are living double lives, claiming that prominent figures, including Erica's close associate Tyler Bauer, are among those he describes as closeted. The mainstream media is completely ignoring every single word of this, which means the only way this information reaches people is through conversations exactly like this one. And Matt is not alone anymore. Additional former employees are now stepping forward, and what they are describing paints a picture of an organization that looks dramatically different behind closed doors than the one being presented to its membership and to the public. The allegations being made are serious and specific. Senior officials at Turning Point USA allegedly taking young recruits out in stripper vans, exposing them to environments completely inconsistent with the values the organization publicly champions, and providing alcohol to participants who were under the legal drinking age. These are not vague impressions or secondhand gossip. These are specific claims being made by people who say they were directly present and directly involved. But the story gets even more complicated and even more troubling when you add the layer that multiple whistleblowers are now raising.
Turning Point USA and closeted gay males. It's a thing. And I got the scoop, and I'll tell you why. As a former Turning Point employee and somebody who is openly gay, like myself, I'll give you a reason. It's blackmail. Let's talk about it. First of all, the rumors are absolutely true. Tyler Boyer, Mikey McCoy, a lot of the Turning Point male staff. So these conservative organizations will hire these closeted gay men because they have blackmail on them, and that blackmail is leverage for them to do the dirty work.
That the people allegedly engaged in this behavior were not just reckless insiders acting independently. Some of these individuals are being described as people who deliberately and strategically infiltrated Turning Point USA with a specific agenda to undermine Charlie Kirk and ultimately push him out of the organization he built from the ground up. When you hear what these whistleblowers claim was actually happening beneath the surface of TPUSA, the accusations that were once directed at Candace Owens start looking like a textbook case of projection. So let us start with Matthew Sharoni and exactly what he put into the public record, because the specific details matter enormously here. Matt shared a short video clip from a Turning Point after party and accompanied it with a caption that described what was visible in the footage in clear and direct terms. A woman in minimal clothing inside a giant wine glass filled with water, moving in a sexually suggestive manner while splashing the crowd, with alcohol flowing freely throughout the event, and then wrapping an American flag around herself like a costume. Matt called it out directly as a violation of flag code, a betrayal of the values Turning Point publicly promotes, and asked the questions that the footage naturally raises. Where is the consistency? Where is the principled stance against exactly this kind of cultural content that the organization regularly lectures others about?
Is this the attire for the party tonight?
What's that?
Is this the attire for the party tonight?
Oh no, there's 12 costumes.
12 costumes, okay.
Are you coming?
I am, sir.
Here, take one of these.
Awesome.
Please promote the party. It
Will
goes
do.
to a good cause. They want a funeral. We are also going to inspire and bring joy and music and laughter. We need to inspire people to be brave.
Matt confirmed explicitly that the footage is real, unedited, and from an event he personally attended, putting his name and credibility directly on the line. Additional receipts followed immediately. Matt shared a screenshot from a text exchange with someone else who attended the same party. And that person confirmed that the event was hosted by James O'Keefe, a figure with a long and well-documented history of serious allegations and legal complications, who has nonetheless remained a regular presence at TPUSA events. That confirmation did not stay isolated for long. A woman named Megan Walsh came forward publicly on X and independently corroborated the account, writing that she also attended what she described as a James O'Keefe networking party in South Florida during the same TPUSA event weekend. Her description was unambiguous. She called it pathetic and genuinely unpleasant, describing O'Keefe arriving in sunglasses and a bulletproof vest as a costume to serve as the DJ. These are not anonymous internet claims. These are named individuals with direct personal experience of the same event describing it in consistent terms. Now here is where Erica's direct decision-making enters the picture in a way that demands serious examination.
My name is Joshua Peterson. I'm a former representative for Turning Point USA, and I have a story to tell about when I was at training. We were going to be going out with our former representatives that had shown up from previous years and had been at training in previous years, and they were going to be the ones that were going to show us around the city. So I get paired up with these two specific people who I cannot name currently, but they take us out, and the first thing that I found very odd about, this Christian conservative company is they rented two stripper vans to take us out to the city. No strippers, but it was like there were stripper poles inside the vans. Very odd, very unlike, their values, but okay. And then once we got down to the bars in Arizona, they started getting us drunk. The former reps were. And then they started singling out people, and they would pull them out one by one to go outside and smoke like a cigarette. Now, when it was finally my turn to go and talk to them, they approached me and they asked me, "Hey, what are your views on Israel?"
As the new CEO of Turning Point USA following Charlie's death, Erica has the authority and the responsibility to determine who speaks at TPUSA events and who represents the organization publicly. And her decision was to invite James O'Keefe to speak at AmFest 2025, just 3 months after Charlie was publicly assassinated. Not only was O'Keefe invited to speak, there is footage of him at AmFest actively promoting his Make America Rave Again party, at an event held 3 months after the organization's founder was killed. The question of what that decision communicates about priorities and judgment is one that Erica has not addressed publicly. But the O'Keefe invitation was not even the most disturbing element of AmFest 2025, because at that same event, the first major TPUSA gathering after Charlie's death, Erica made the decision to erect a physical replica of the tent where Charlie was shot, and positioned it so that attendees could take photographs with it. Let that sit for a moment before moving past it, because this detail moved through the news cycle far too quickly without receiving the weight it deserves. This was not a poorly considered tribute or a misguided memorial gesture. People who attended and people who saw footage described the experience as ritualistic, as though the scene of Charlie's killing was being displayed not as a somber reminder, but as something closer to a celebration or a mockery of what happened there. When you combine that tent installation with O'Keefe's rave party happening at the same event, the overall atmosphere being created at what was supposed to be a tribute to Charlie Kirk becomes genuinely difficult to characterize as grief. On December 19th, O'Keefe posted on Facebook promoting his party with the caption, "Make America Rave Again. Join me for the party of the decade at this year's 2025 TPUSA AmFest." Read that again carefully.
Not only that, they induce alcohol, cocaine, drugs, etc. in these conservative movements, okay?
3 months after her husband and the father of her children is publicly assassinated in front of witnesses, Erica is presiding over an event where the official promotional language is "Party of the Decade," and people are being actively encouraged to rave. If the shopping story and the merchandise enthusiasm and the excited leadership transition had not already established a pattern, this moment would be shocking on its own. In the context of everything that came before it, it lands as confirmation of something that observers have been trying to articulate for months. Then now back to Matt Cherone, because the after-party footage is only one part of what he has brought forward. Matt, who has been open about being a gay man, also made specific public allegations on TikTok about what he describes as a deliberate internal dynamic within Turning Point regarding closeted men inside the organization. He named Tyler Bauer and Mikey McCoy directly, putting specific names to allegations that have been circulating in less specific form for some time. Beyond simply naming individuals, Matt also described what he alleges is a systemic pattern, that these closeted individuals are deliberately placed in situations involving alcohol and substances that create vulnerability, which then generates compromising material that can be used for internal leverage and control. This is not a description of a social organization with some behavioral inconsistencies. This is a description of a deliberate blackmail infrastructure operating inside a major conservative political organization. Then, Joshua Peterson stepped forward, another former TPUSA staff member willing to put his name publicly to what he witnessed during his time with the organization. Joshua described his own recruitment experience. Specifically, how older and more senior members of the organization would take new recruits out on what he described as bar-hopping trips in stripper vans.
And I just told them, I think Israel's a good country. At the time, I thought so, at least. And they told me, okay, well, what do you think about, Mossad and, Israeli forces? And I was like, they're all right, yeah. And they were like, what if we told you we're part of it? Israeli groups and forces. And I was like, can you work for Turning Point, right? And they were like, yeah, we do. We've been working for Turning Point for the past 4 or 5 years now. Did not know if they were infiltrating the company by any means, but they were Israeli agents within Turning Point USA, and I knew that there were more as well. And we did end up bringing it up to our administration at Turning Point that this was going on, and they said they would take care of it. And sure enough, nothing was done about it. And that was very disappointing to see, and honestly a huge red flag for a lot of us.
The detail that elevates this from a story about organizational hypocrisy into something with potential legal dimensions is this. Joshua stated that some of the recruits being encouraged to consume alcohol during these outings were below the legal drinking age. Now, that is not a cultural inconsistency. That is a potential criminal matter. And Joshua did not stop there. He also alleged that some of the senior members who were facilitating these situations were not simply reckless insiders, but were individuals he describes as foreign agents who had deliberately infiltrated Turning Point USA from the outside with specific objectives. Now, while all of this is unfolding publicly, Erica is apparently focused on expansion because she has begun sending out physical mail campaigns soliciting support and asking recipients to join her movement. One person who received the letter shared photographs of it publicly on X, and the details of the materials themselves generated immediate and intense reaction. The front cover features Erica in the gold outfit from her pyrotechnic Amfest entrance, the theatrical stage appearance that itself generated enormous controversy. Open the pamphlet, and there is a photograph of Charlie pointing toward Erica, a deliberate visual construction designed to imply that Charlie's endorsement of Erica as his successor was established and documented. The psychological architecture of that image is not subtle. It is designed to create the impression that Charlie himself wanted this transition, that Erica stepping into power is the fulfillment of his vision rather than the capture of his organization. But the documented reality directly contradicts that framing. Before Charlie's assassination, Erika Kirk was not a prominent or recognizable public figure in conservative political circles. She was publicly presenting herself as a traditional wife focused on family and home, explicitly claiming she was content to remain in the background while Charlie led. The moment Charlie was gone, that presentation evaporated completely and instantly, replaced by a woman who stepped into the spotlight with what observers consistently described as remarkable speed and remarkable comfort. That transition, from deliberately backgrounded traditional wife to pyrotechnic stage entrance CEO in the span of weeks, is one of the central details that people cannot reconcile with the grieving widow narrative. And the full catalog of what Erica has done since Charlie's death deserves to be stated together in one place, because the pattern only becomes fully visible when the individual moments are lined up side by side. The video of her whispering over Charlie's casket that was recorded and shared publicly. The Zoom call where she referred to Charlie's memorial as the event of the century while visibly enthusiastic about merchandise sales numbers. The alleged shopping trip to Alo Yoga where over $1,000 was reportedly spent on gym wear within hours of Charlie's death, and specifically during the 4-hour window before boarding a private jet to bring her husband's body home. A grieving widow with 4 hours before loading her husband's casket onto a plane. And the documented priority during that window is apparently a new gym wardrobe. The question that keeps getting asked and never answered is straightforward. What exactly were those gym clothes being purchased in preparation for? Erica has not addressed any of these specific questions publicly. Not the shopping timeline, not the tent installation, not the rave party, not the casket video, not the merchandise enthusiasm, not the O'Keefe invitation, not the allegations from former employees. The official posture appears to be that these questions simply do not require answers, that asking them is itself the problem rather than the behavior that generated them. But the everyone grieves differently defense has run out of runway. It does not stretch far enough to cover allowing a rave to be thrown in your assassinated husband's name at an event bearing his legacy. It does not cover turning the physical location of his killing into a selfie installation. It does not cover the visible and documented excitement about merchandise revenue at a memorial. These are not ambiguous grief expressions that reasonable people could interpret multiple ways. These are specific decisions made by a specific person in a position of authority, decisions that reflect priorities and values that the people watching have every right to question openly and directly. Something is showing through the cracks of the carefully managed public image, and more people are noticing it with every passing week. Former employees are coming forward, specific names are being named, documented decisions are being examined, and the organization that Charlie Kirk built is being looked at with a level of scrutiny it has never previously faced. The version of Turning Point USA being revealed by these whistleblowers looks nothing like the version that has been publicly presented, and the version of Erika Kirk being revealed by her own documented choices looks nothing like the grieving widow asking for grace and understanding. The face that is emerging through all of this, through the leaked footage, the whistleblower accounts, the marketing materials, the event decisions, and the documented timeline of behavior, is not the face of someone processing loss. It is the face of someone who has been waiting for an opportunity and is now moving through it with a level of focus and energy that grief simply does not explain.